Welcome to the HBCU podcast. I'm so excited because you're listening to episode 30. If you're an avid listener or just joining us for the first time, here we're joined by some awesome HBCU grads in the form of co-host and guest. We also focus on all the great things HBCU alumni are doing in this world. On this episode, we speak with Rashan Ali. She's a graduate of Florida A&M University. Rashan is a media maven, having worked in all facets of media, including radio, television, and podcasting. She's currently the host of the very popular Cool Soror Podcast and co-host on TVOne's hit daytime talk show, Sister Circle. During this episode, we discuss her HBCU experience, her career in entertainment, and she blesses us with endless words of wisdom. Keep listening. It's the HBCU podcast. I am Rashan Ali, and I am a 1997 graduate of the Florida A&M University on the highest of 7 hills in Tallahassee, Florida. I have a Bachelor of Science in Broadcast Journalism. Well, Rashan, thank you so much for being a part of the HBCU podcast.
Yay.
I just wanted you to know your podcast is one of the reasons that I started my podcast.
Really?
Yes, because, I didn't even do introductions earlier. I am a soror of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority also.
See, you're tripping. Why didn't we do that when we first met in the lobby? Hello. Well, hello, Cool Soror.
Yeah, so I remember seeing the Cool Soror, and I was like, oh, I love that. And saw the podcast.
Yeah.
And listened to the podcast. And I was like, you know what? This is something I would love to do as well.
I love it.
But, found my niche.
Yes, absolutely. And this is a beautiful niche. When you guys reached out, I was like, yeah, I sure would love to be a part of that. I think that, HBCUs need to be showcased, they need to be highlighted, and especially the amazing alumni of each of our great organizations. So I'm so glad you're doing this. Yes.
Nice. Okay, so we're going to start off, I guess, just quickly for the folks who may, they should, but may not know who you are.
Of course.
You are born and raised here in Atlanta, Georgia, right?
Yes, I was born in Atlanta, raised in Decatur. I am the East Side. So,
okay.
I've been able to see the growth of Atlanta, but really stay true to who I am and everything that I do because I am and have been born in this city, and and my swag comes from the East Side, Decatur.
Okay. I love it. Now, because this is all about HBCUs, you're an Atlanta, Decatur native. You were surrounded by nothing but HBCUs.
Yeah.
Not nothing but HBCUs, but a lot.
Yes.
So what made you, of all the HBCUs that are in this area, choose Florida A&M?
So I didn't want to stay in Georgia. I did not want to stay in Atlanta. Plus, Spelman's application was very long. But that wasn't meant for me. I love all of my folks who I know who have gone to Spelman. I love Spelman College, just in general. But I just knew I wanted to leave Atlanta. So my parents went to an HBCU. They went to Delaware State University. So all I knew growing up is, I want to do that. And then when A Different World came out, I was like, I definitely got to go to an HBCU. There was no question. So I actually applied to Jackson State, North Carolina A&T, Tennessee State, and Florida A&M. So I got accepted into the academic program at Jackson State, got accepted into A&T, and I was actually going to Tennessee State. My brother went to Tennessee State. He played football there. So by the time I was 14, I was up there at TSU like, I'm going to be a Tiger. And everybody knew me. My brother was on the football team, like all of that. And so in my high school yearbook, I was the homecoming queen. It says, Rashan Ali Godfrey will be attending Tennessee State to major in speech pathology and theater. But my SAT score shot up after that, submission. And the swim coach at Florida A&M found out that I was a swimmer and researched me. And he was like, hey, I got a full scholarship. And then School of Journalism, I applied for a scholarship there, got a scholarship in the School of Journalism, and then I got a presidential scholarship. So all of this, I went from my parents, they're going to have to pay at Tennessee State, to everything being paid for plus money left over. So, Florida A&M it was. Plus my god sister and my godmother, all Florida A&M. So I used to go to their homecomings and everything. So it was always, a toss-up. But FAMU won, and I do not regret that one day.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you have HBCU legacy
yes.
happening in the family. Tennessee State, Delaware State.
Yes.
So you had no choice, huh?
Well, I wanted to, like, the HBCU experience, as I know you have heard from all of your guests and what you've experienced yourself, there's nothing like it.
Right.
You know, people talk about academics and what is your resume going to look with Claflin or FAMU? Let me tell you something. The experience that you get at an HBCU is it's incomparable. You learn. What I learned is the beauty of Black people and learning who I am by what I saw. You saw people from all socioeconomic backgrounds. I remember going to class with a dude from Miami. He had a big car with the big wheels, the shocks and all that, mouthful of gold, orange Reeboks, but was the smartest person in the class. Right. And I had the rich dudes from Detroit who had, who parents had all the money in Chicago, and everybody in between. And you learn to love everybody, and it made me love myself even more.
So you mentioned that speech pathology and all that you were looking into, but you ended up doing broadcast journalism. What initially attracted you to this particular field that, of course, you're working in now, but what attracted you to that?
Well, I think back then, I always had this gift of wanting to be in front of the camera. And I knew at the age of 3 that I wanted to do something that was in front of the camera. And so while I wanted to do theater, I don't think that I got the, how your parents are like, what are you going to do with that?
Right. What kind of major is that?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think I just changed it. But in retrospect, of course, I would love to have majored literally maybe gotten a double major in theater as well. But broadcast journalism I thought was the closest to being on the theater, but then having a good job, like kind of thing that was like in the middle. And so I went after it. And like my freshman year, I was on the radio at Tallahassee, our campus radio station. I was on a local television show called On the Set. Like I went in, as with anything in life, I go after it. And so that has just been part of who I am and my character since, I can remember.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what did you have in mind when you chose that major, and then after kind of working in that major while you were in college, what did post-graduation look like for you? What did you think, hey, as soon as I walk across the stage, this is what I'm doing? Let
me tell you. Well, as soon as I walked across the stage, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be on a talk show at 21. You know what I'm saying? I'm supposed to be it. And but my dream was to go to film school. I actually applied to several film schools, really wanted to be a director.
Okay.
And I got into American University in D.C. and went to D.C. and visited the school. I was like, yeah, this is about to be my life. I'm going to live in D.C. We're about to do it. I'm going to get my Master's of Arts and filmmaking. I'm like a Black woman. This was the 90s. This was 1990. This would have been 1997.
Right.
But my mama said no.
Oh.
Yeah. Your same reaction was mine too, because she had no real explanation. And she hates that this is a part of my story, but it is. But, later she told me that was one of the greatest mistakes she made as a parent. But that is all I wanted to do. Even the line that I pledged, the Spring 97 line, I was their assistant dean. Co-membership chair. And they bought me a director's chair that said Big Sister Tight to Death. Everybody knew that's what I wanted to do and what I was going to do. So that changed the entire trajectory of my life, because I had to come back home and I'm like, I wanted to go to film school. I didn't have a plan B. This was it. And so I worked a lot. I did a lot of things outside of my major. Worked at the Atlanta Board of Education and Accounts Payable. I don't even like numbers. Nope. Give me words to talk to, to speak on. Didn't like that. I worked as the personal assistant to Lisa Left Eye Lopez in TLC. Before she passed away, worked at music. I worked at record labels, music stores and malls, all that. And then I heard about a competition on a radio station with Ryan Cameron, who's legendary in radio here, and went out like American Idol style and won. And that changed my whole life.
That's what's kind of like got your career rolling.
Yep, at 26 years old, it got my career going. And you don't start in a top 10 market as your first job. That's very rare. And so I started in a top 10 market on a very popular radio station. I mean, they were top 3, 18 to 34 in their demo. Ryan Cameron, very popular radio personality. And I became his co-host along with one of my great friends. Her name is CJ, but she was more like she did a lot of the stuff out in the streets, and she was a co-host as well, but I was kind of like the main co-host. But it really truly became the role in my life, or the opportunity in my life that catapulted my career.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, you said you walked across the stage 21, you got this job 26. What was going through your head as you were working as the personal assistant and working at the Atlanta Board of Education? What was going through your head? Because we always think we're jumping right into it. We have that kind of society where we want microwave oven kind of success. So what was your train of thought as you were just kind of going along doing these jobs that had nothing to do with your major?
Man, you know what? I remember almost vividly. I was working because I had 2 stints at the Atlanta Board of Education. So I was at the Atlanta Board of Education, then I worked at Fox Sports South, then I worked as Lisa's assistant, then I worked at LaFace Records, and then L.A. Reid and Babyface sold LaFace Records back to Clive Davis at Arista. And so most of us in the Atlanta office lost our jobs, especially lower level. I was in the music video department, so I was responsible for getting all the videos done and all that kind of stuff. And so I was trying to, figure out life after LaFace, because I was driving. I was in first class, doing videos in L.A. with Pink and Tony Braxton, and I'm 23 years old. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm living it, and now I don't have nothing.
Yeah.
And so I'm living with my brother. He's a computer analyst. We're doing well. He's doing well. And here I am, the creative one, like, this girl, here she go again. So then my parents called our family friend, may he rest in peace, Danny, and he's like, yeah, that girl need another job. So literally went back to the Atlanta Board of Education. And I told God, I'm like, God, if this is what you wanted to be, then, let me just at least showcase my skills. And so I got with like the video production department at Atlanta Board of Education.
Just always found your way.
I found my way. And so I produced a piece called Succeed with Creed. It was a new program that they had, and I I hired one of the guys who I had done a film with years ago. We did it, and it was it was the bomb. But I think God needed to see me be okay with where I was before he could elevate me. And so that is so like that. If I could impart anything on anyone who's in that age, right out of school, and things aren't clicking, in retrospect, I needed to be okay with where I was. And once you're okay with where you are, gratefulness, like being grateful in your space, then and only then will you elevate to the next level. Yeah.
I think that's such good advice, because coming up, when you came up, and even when I came up, social media wasn't big like that, and you didn't have the opportunity to keep up with what your friends were doing after college. And so now that's a little bit harder for everybody to kind of just operate and be okay where they are, because they're looking at all the
everybody
other people around them.
And then it was like that with me too, but I had to understand that you cannot look around. You got to continuously look up and look forward, because one of my line sisters is like big time at Ford, and my mom used to say, "Oh, Krista, she got her a good job and she's doing well at Ford." I'm thinking, here I go with my little creative self. I'm just I just want to live, and so it was hard to not compare yourself, even then without social media. But I'm sure, like you said, it's much harder now, but you gotta stay your course.
Right.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
So fast forward just a little bit, you've worked in radio, and then you've moved on to do some really great things in broadcast. So it's sports reporting and for CNN and Headline News, and the list goes on. How was that something that you got into? Because sports specifically, I've heard now that you're a big athlete and sports fanatic. So how did that transpire?
Well, my dad is a legendary high school football coach in DeKalb County. He's the winningest high school football coach in DeKalb County history. He sent over 300 boys to college on football scholarships. And not only that, he helped numerous young men and women get to college. He's an English teacher, one of those old school hard-nosed coaches, will make the kids hit the building like as an exercise on defense, And so I grew up in a house full of sports. My mom actually coached Pop Warner football. Her team went undefeated. So, sports has always been like a huge played a huge role in our entire lives, like all of us. And so my brother and I, my parents put us into sports so early. Swimming, I swam, started swimming competitively when I was 5. I played soccer, basketball, softball, and it's it's who I am. It's the fabric of who I am. So sports came really naturally to me. And so when I got the opportunity to audition for Ryan Cameron's show, I was like, I can't be like anybody else. I'm going to do sports because that's my thing. And went in and was a sports reporter. I did the daily sports update for the radio show. And so he became the PA announcer for the Atlanta Hawks. And the Atlanta Hawks, they were looking for a sideline reporter to do inter-arena stuff, and I became like one of the first sideline reporters they had in the arena, and so that catapulted me into NBA TV and doing other stuff on other networks, and so that was kind of like the beginning of how my sports life started. I just quote unquote ended my sports life. I did a whole lot of stuff in between.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that's what kind of got me into it.
Now, how have you been able to kind of like just parlay your broadcast education into so many facets? Is it mostly for you? Well, of course, talent, but how important are like relationships, or have relationships been for you, kind of like, you know, jumping around from the different spaces?
It's a lot. It's a lot. I got a lot going on. Had a lot going on. Relationships are everything. Yeah. I know I can call anybody that I've worked with in the past and get back on, or you know, if I needed a favor. It's everything, but it's also who I am. Yeah. Like I'm cool. So it's really, you know, just kind of just the person I am and the way I was raised by my parents, to treat everybody the same, whether, you know, wherever you are in this societal hierarchy, whether you are an amazing, you know, head of custodial services, or the CEO in the C-suite. Everyone deserves to be treated the same, and that's what I do. I treat everybody with dignity, and I can say that wholeheartedly. You can ask anybody that knows me; they will say that about me, and I'm very proud of that. Yeah,
that's definitely something we believe, because after you went to show us in, Hadia, who's with me, is my co-producer, she said, "That's so nice. She gave us a hug. She doesn't even know us like that. She gave us a hug."
Right? Yeah, that's just me. And then it's crazy because I've been having this chronic back pain, so I'm not even like 100%. Oh, honey, I would have been like, "Come on, girl, give me some more. Give me that cheek." Yeah, I'm just a loving person.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. So now we couldn't talk or chat at all on this podcast without talking about your podcast, which that's how I really got familiar with podcasting and got inspired to actually podcast, is from hearing your podcast, Cool Soror.
Yes.
So tell everybody about how Cool Soror came about.
Let me tell you, this is crazy. This is a true story. So I'm literally walking up to Top Golf. Where do you guys live? Are you?
We live in Augusta.
Okay, live in Augusta. So I'm walking up to Top Golf, Top Golf, where you play golf and all that kind of stuff. And I had on, this was wintertime, had on some Uggs and like these camouflage pants. And I had one of the guys who you guys should interview. His name is Keenan Thompson.
Yeah, for sure.
He's not Keenan Thompson, Keenan Johnson, sorry. He is the brand curator of Never Sold Dope. He went to Clark Atlanta University. Okay. And he's also a music exec. So I had on a sweatshirt, because I love sweatshirts. It said Never Sold Dope. My hair was like real fly. Had on my little Louis backpack. And I said to myself, man, I'm such a cool soror. I was like, meh. And so I told my business partner, AJ, I was like, yeah, I want to do Cool Soror. I think I should just do T-shirts, and then I don't have to get anybody's permission from their national body, because I'll just do the colors. Right. And he was like, yeah, that was cool. That's cool. And he had been trying to push me to do a podcast, but I was like, who wants to listen to me? What's going to be my niche? All that. He called me back 2 weeks later. He was like, that Cool Soror concept you told me, like, what if you did that in podcast form and you interview men and women in Greek letter organizations? I was like, man, you're right.
What a novel idea.
And literally, I went into Top Golf. Well, that night, I went to Top Golf because of the T-shirt thing in my head, and reserved everything I could think of. I went to GoDaddy and got the website. I went to Instagram. I went to Twitter, and I reserved all of those things, and that's how I started. And, 2 years later, here we are.
Very popular.
Yeah.
I hear so many people talking about it, and I know a few people who have been on there. I was like, you were on Rashan's podcast.
Yeah, we got to have you on now, cross promotion.
Yes,
talk about your story.
I love it.
Yes.
So podcasting, while we're there, I just want to chit chat a little bit about it.
Go ahead, ask me anything. I know everything.
Because it's interesting that someone who has had a background like you have, you've worked in radio, you've worked in broadcast, and just the media in general. talk about, if at all, there was any kind of like trepidation when it came to podcasting, because it was such a new space for the most part, especially for a lot of African American people. And what was there a learning curve for you? Does someone kind of like produce for you in the beginning? Like, what was your whole journey like?
So AJ, who's an amazing marketer, business person, he's my business partner, and so he had done some podcasting himself, or just done some research. He's like, this is the microphone you get, this is that, and this is the other. So GarageBand on my Apple, on my Mac, I went to YouTube and taught myself how to record on GarageBand, and then we got interns to help us upload, and, that kind of stuff. And one of my former interns at one of the radio stations I work with is now like my main producer. He edits all my shows and all of that, and so he is super fantastic, and so is my intern or co-producer, Latasha Ford. So right now, which is interesting that you ask, I'm just trying to keep my mojo, honestly, because I just want you to be, this is almost a warning. Like you're gonna get tired. You're gonna get tired, especially because the reward is there. The reward is when you came in and said, I started my podcast because I heard yours, or you were one of the reasons why I started. That's the reward. But financially, it just doesn't come that fast.
Who you telling?
And it's been a long time, and but then I also have to think more strategically. Like, am I really leveraging my brand like I used to? Some people say I'm humble to a fault, which is, my parents have said that. Like, because I'm like, yeah, I'm Rashan Ali. Let me get this money for and I don't have that person in place that can speak that language either. So I would say, as you continue to matriculate through this, get you a salesperson that can say, hey, this is what they're doing. This is HBCU podcast. She said this person. And that's what we're in the process of doing, and really getting a salesperson who has done radio sales to try to get, and then it's a new media, and people are like, still like, what is it? Especially black folks.
Right.
And like, so you want me to spend money? I'm like, yeah, I have 600,000 unique downloads. Like that, you will not get that type of attention on mainstream radio.
Right.
Because when you hear those 15-second spots on mainstream radio, it's very rarely that there's, that you get some residual from that spot.
Absolutely.
But on a podcast, you can see the results. It's more personal, and you have a concentrated market. You know that every week somebody's downloading your podcast for sure. You're just not sure who's going to hear that commercial on the radio.
Yeah.
Terrestrial radio, commercial radio. So while it's still a great art form, I think podcasting has given people a voice that they just didn't hear on radio, given people a voice what they want to talk about. You got murder mysteries. You got breaking down of hip hop albums.
It goes deep.
I mean, the Dissect podcast, one of my favorite podcasts with Cole Cushing. You have the HBCU podcast. You have so many different areas. And then I thought, I'm like, man, is it becoming too concentrated or whatever? We still have stories to tell.
Right.
There are people that need to hear these stories, and that's what keeps me going. Although I will tell you, I have gotten very tired. So I went from going once a week to twice a week, and I think I'm going to go back to one so that I can just handle it all. With my life changed when Sister Circle took off, and so I was just able to just be in the gathering spot interviewing people all week because I didn't have a quote unquote day job, but now I got a full-time gig, and so trying to balance the two has been difficult, but I'm still trying to push out the content.
Yes, I love that. That's one of the things a lot of people don't know about it. It's like, because we were doing weekly, and I was like, oh my goodness, what are you thinking?
Yes,
like,
ma'am.
That's crazy.
It is serious. I was doing twice a week.
Yeah.
Well,
I love your segue right on into Sister Circle, because that is such an amazing platform. Tell us about how it came about, and then, what makes you all so different from, I guess, the other talk show or panel type shows that are already on television.
So you remember that time, early in the conversation when I said I'm going to start this Cool Soror podcast. So God had been telling me, like, everything that you need to go to the next level, I've already given you.
Yeah.
So stop waiting on other people. And so the same week that I posted on Instagram that I was starting this podcast, coming soon, was the same week I got a call from the creator and executive producer of Sister Circle. Said she was looking for talent in Atlanta to produce a talk show. And I was like, God, you know I want a talk show so bad. Like, I literally study Wendy. I studied The View, looked at The Real. Like, I'm like, that's me.
And you spoke it a long time ago. 'Cause
Right.
You said that earlier in the
Yes.
conversation. I'm getting out. I'm going to be a talk show host.
Yes, yes. And so I said, okay. But, you know, a lot in entertainment, you become so disappointed because you have so many ups and downs. Everybody got shows. We want you to audition. I've been to so many auditions that never came to. I've shot movies that never came to light. Like all of this stuff. So I've been so jaded in the industry. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. And literally, we auditioned. They picked us. We shot the pilot. They shopped it for an entire year, and then we got picked up last summer. So I was still just really honing my skills on my podcast or whatever. Just preparing myself really in the gym, like. Just I wanted to be ready when it was time to go, and I was. Nice. And it's been great.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Like the individuals you have on, another HBCU grad, QUOTABLES, and you got Selena Johnson, who I super love, and then comedian
Kiana Dancy. Yes.
So I love just the dynamic between you two. So what do you feel that is
different?
Different.
I didn't answer that question. Sorry about that. We are different. Have you ever seen an African American panel? All African American women?
Nope.
Not really.
No.
Not on television like that. And I think that we bring a very unique perspective because when people see us and listen to us, they realize, even if you're another culture, because it's not just for black women,
right?
You realize that we're more alike than we are different. Mm-hmm. And I think that we're able to showcase that. And another thing that I love about our show is that we're not this overly journalistic pulled up show and we're talking all of these amazing and we're not going to be as sharp and articulate as you may see on another show,
right?
But what we are real. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people like. We may child girl, but that's how you talk to your girls.
That's true.
We're pulled up when we need to be. Like, I'm pulled up when I need to be, but I'm hood when I need to be too. Like that's the beauty of being black and knowing how to code switch.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes us different. We're just as real as they come. And we're very responsible with our platform too. Mm-hmm. So I always say God, but I told God when I was 23 or when I was left as assistant, we must have been in a Walmart. Stuff I just remember vividly. I told God whenever He gave me the platform, I was going to be very responsible with it.
Yeah.
So I am very responsible with the platform because everybody doesn't get to do this.
That's true.
And everybody, when they do get certain things, they don't take the responsibility seriously. There's a girl in Augusta or Arkansas or Saginaw, Michigan that are looking at you and seeing how you do what you do. Mm-hmm. And people are tied to that obedience of you being responsible with the platform. You never know something that I say or something Selena says or Quad or Kiana says that could change someone's life.
Right.
So we have to be responsible with that. And I take that very seriously.
Yeah.
I really do.
I love that. And it shows with you guys' dynamic. I mean, I think there's a real empowerment factor that happens amongst you guys on the show. And that's something that I really, really like too.
Thank you.
So you touched on it just a little bit about film school and, movies that you've been a part of that haven't, come out or have come out, but you're also an actress. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about being multi-passionate, because I think that's something that people try to make it seem like you can't be, that you can't have several passions and several things that you're interested in life. So how do you wade through that?
So TV is that's my baby. I love television, whether eventually I want to be on a funny sitcom. I can see myself on a Blackish or something like that. But right now, the space that I'm in is television. Television has always been, kind of my number one, but I had to come to that. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to do a whole lot at one time. And what I don't want to do with acting is there's so many people out there who some of my acting friends that really, really are into it and take it seriously. They take their classes. They do everything. They are on auditions every day. They are fighting the good fight. And I don't want to play around with that. I don't want it to be let me go on an audition when I haven't been doing the work.
Right.
I don't want to fill up that space because that's not fair to me. It's not fair to the fellow actor if I'm not as sharp as I need to be. So I'm saying all that to say, you got to be, I was trying to do a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, everything was just all right.
Right.
But now that I focused on not just one thing, but just kind of just focusing on Sister Circle and my podcast and just growing that, all those other things will fall into place. But I don't ever want anyone to leave this earth and not having tried it. One of the things I say all the time is, if God placed it on your heart, how dare you not try?
Yeah.
Like, you got to at least try. Like, you got to say, okay, he must have given me this, or this, the universe told me this for some reason. So you're not going to try? Like, you're not going to try like one bit. Like, you got to go out there and you got to push and you got to try. So, yeah, do it all, but then be smart about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. You know what's so funny about you saying that?
What?
I literally have that quote like down here because I was going to ask you about it.
Yes.
Because it like stuck with me. I love it.
Explore everything.
So what advice do you have for students or college students or just people
Your
who are
hair
on
is gorgeous. I'm so sorry. I keep looking at it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
What kind of advice do you have for students or people who aren't even students? Because especially in this space, we are realizing it's not something you necessarily have to have a degree to be a part of. So what kind of advice do you have for them on that journey?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. I think, like, you know, in the beginning of the interview, I was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be on TV. I'm 21. I'm supposed to be doing it. You know, I equate my life to how people or how architects or builders build homes. Mm-hmm. You know, the ground, whether you have a basement or not, you know, those things have to be built out. Electricity, plumbing, all of that. Like, all the things that go on underneath. And I equate that underneath building to all of the radio, movies, and all of those things that I got to this point. So I now believe my slab is so solid. Mm-hmm. Now I'm building my house. But you got to build beneath, meaning you got to have a foundation before you can build your home. And so I feel like my foundation is so solid. I'm very comfortable with who I am. I'm very confident in who I am. Took me a while to get there. Yeah. So my thing when I speak to people, when I'm a guest on podcasts and a guest anywhere, is if I can take 5 to 10 years off of your life by the way that I told you I had to live mine, like, hey, take off those 10 years by doing it differently from me, then my job is done. But for me, my house is just being built because the foundation is solid. And everybody's journey is different. We just got to stop looking at other people like, oh, my gosh, she's here or he's there. Your journey, like your fingerprint, is your own. Mm. So I bought my first house with my husband at 41. I really wanted our first house together to be in our 20s. Yeah. You know, we had a condo, we had a townhouse, but like home. And in my mind, we were married at 27. We should have had all of that, picket fence, everything, big car, two kids by 30.
Society.
According to society. We had our first child at 31, our second child at 34, bought our first home together at 41. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, for some people, that's like, oh my God, that's so late. That's my journey.
Yeah.
And it's just me. And so when people understand that it's a marathon, not a sprint, you got to put in the work and let your journey, like your fingerprint, be your own. And that's it. If I can give any advice to the good folk, not even just young folks, just people in general, because that has been my story. Everything that happened, I going to film school, all these different jobs, I could not have this conversation had I not gone through that. And that's what is underneath the slab.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit. We're going to talk about giving. Mm-hmm. And that's something I know you're very familiar with, especially because you have a nonprofit.
I do.
So tell us a little bit about your nonprofit and the type of work that you do with your nonprofit.
So in 2006, I started or founded Sporty Girls Incorporated, and our mission is to introduce girls to, particularly minority girls, to swimming, soccer, tennis, golf, and lacrosse. As I mentioned, I'm a swimmer. I went to college on a full swimming scholarship. Swimming was obviously physically beneficial to anyone who swims, but the relationships that I was able to cultivate from the time I was 5 to 21, I still have friends. The relay team, record-breaking relay team, we broke our first record when we were 9.
Oh, wow.
Those women were, and we just lost one to cervical cancer, but all of those women were in my wedding. Mm-hmm. And one still coaches with Sporty Girls, and she's going to teach my daughter how to swim. This, you know, just
since you were younger.
Yes, we've been together, and we went to all 4 of us on that relay team went to college on swimming scholarships. 2 went to FAMU, 1 went to Howard, and 1 went to Georgia Southern. Nice. So I know what sport can do outside of just the game, and I'm so glad that my daughters are in sports because it just teaches you about life, literally how to fall down and get back up. Like, in the literal and the figurative sense, like literally knowing how to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to start Sporty Girls. So we've served over 1,000 girls in and around the metro Atlanta area through our camps, our clinics, our conferences, like everything. We literally had a board meeting last night about 2 events that we're about to put on, grants we're going up for.
Nice.
So we've been in existence 12 years now, I guess.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. It's the nonprofit world is very hard.
Yeah.
Life is hard, good God. But you got to smile through and know that you're helping people.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, especially for women in sports. It's one of those places where you don't always get pushed into a lot of times as a young woman, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's good that your organization exists and has tons of life skills that they can share, as a part of it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I just believe that giving is the rent we pay for living. Like, if you're not giving, what are you doing?
Absolutely.
Seriously, what are you doing? There's always someone who needs help, a smile, whatever your form of giving is, do that. Because, like, if you keep it all to yourself, okay, that's how you roll. Okay, I see. I don't want to be I want to be with people who give. Yeah. And that's what our organization is all about. That's what the foundation of all of the sororities and fraternities are about. But just not even that. Yeah. Do good. That's it.
Yeah, just do good out here in this world.
No matter what you do, just do good. Well,
since we're still talking about doing good, giving all that stuff in that vein.
Yes.
With HBCUs, that's one of the things we really try to drive home because, our giving numbers aren't always where they should be.
I know.
Based on the number of alumni we have. But talking about giving, what does giving back to FAMU look like for you?
Yeah, I'm a part of they have a 10 for 10, which is like a $10 a month type of thing. Of course, I pay my alumni dues every year. I'm going down to speak to the Palm Beach County Alumni Association Gala for scholarship gala. I'm the keynote speaker in June. And I go back to the School of Journalism every homecoming, and I went down for another event a couple of years ago. It was like a women's empowerment event, but I wear FAMU on my chest. I do. I talk about it on Sister Circle. As much exposure as I can get to my school, give to my school, I do. And so I give, and obviously monetarily, but also giving as far as making sure people understand, not that I just love FAMU, but what it did for me and the importance of HBCU. So I give love I love that we have these friendly rivalries between like us and BCC and Howard and Hampton. I love all of it. Honey, let me tell you something. Me and my friends, we do a whole HBCU tour, homecoming tour. We had the Morehouses. We had Spell House, kicking it. We're going to Spell House? What time? So we are always supporting and being amongst that. Is nothing like that. It gives you the feeling of what Black folks probably were like prior to integration. You know what I mean? Like before although it was a great thing for us, we became, was it great? As
That's up for debate, right?
It's up for debate. We just were better as a people prior to.
Right.
We really, really stuck together.
Yeah. Camaraderie.
We supported each other's businesses. The men wore suits. Women wore dresses. We looked clean everywhere we went. That's what HBCUs make me feel like when I'm in the midst of especially a big event or something like that. I could cry.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
So with all that you've done for, your alumni association and giving, what would you do? Well, what would you say to and one of your fellow rattlers or friends or anybody who hasn't really been stepping up and giving? What kind of advice would you give to them to give to your alma mater?
Well, somebody gave for them to have gone to school in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. So you got to continue to pay it forward. That's it. And then we can't complain about this looming cloud that says, FAMU will be no longer.
Yeah.
When we are at the core of its success, the alumni. So we just have to make that much more of a priority, and kind of an in-your-face type of thing.
Yeah.
And every little bit counts. That's the thing. I think when people think of giving, they think of, I don't have enough to make an endowment. No, let me get $100 a month.
Right.
Or $10 a month, every little bit counts.
Just a little consistent gift.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So you talked a little bit about it, Spell House, the camaraderie, going, on the little tour together with your friends. But as it relates to FAMU, what are some of your best favorite memories from your years in Tallahassee?
Girl, I got to name like a few. I can't, like all 4 years were just amazing. And then I don't think you realize how amazing the time is. And it's like retrospectively, like, did I just have the best time of my life? Like you think about it later. Let me think. Well, wow. Best times. I just remember one day in particular. I was the Queen of Orange and Green, which is like the spirit person, and you're voted on. You're on the Miss FAMU in court, and so I was really happy to have gotten that. I'd be voted on by the student body to take on that position. But I was also obviously very active. So I remember I went to swim practice that morning, and we swam 5-6 miles. Mm-hmm. And I had to obviously go to class, and then I was a stepmaster.
Okay.
And so this was during the time where I was kind of changing how we stepped at FAMU, and I was,
put some swag on it.
I was put Atlanta in it. And we had a step show, and then I actually hosted that event. So I was hosting the event as Queen of Orange and Green, and then I was like, hey, hold this, and stepped.
Oh, wow.
And literally I think I got up for swim practice the next morning. So I'm like, oh, like this is a whole lot. But I just remember that vividly. Like I'm living as a student athlete, as a person in a sorority and and or fraternity, living a real like student life,
right? And
then doing it all over again. And I would not change it for anything. That's one of the things that not something that happened, but one of those vivid moments. Like, girl, you got this. And now every time I get overwhelmed, I think about that day.
Yeah, when you did it all.
When you did it all. So that's one of the moments. And obviously, becoming AKA and really bringing in an amazing line in spring '97 and. I did a lot.
Yeah.
I can't even give you 5. I did a lot. And
I tried it by asking you just a few.
Yeah,
so.
It's a great time. I had a great experience.
Well, we're going to pause there just for a little bit and talk about the illustrious Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. I know there you definitely have some memories and probably, a lot that you could share.
Well, yeah.
But what are some of your most fond memories with your sorors at FAMU?
Yeah. Most fond, obviously, Beta Alpha chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha, founded in 1932. It really grew me in areas that I didn't even know were possible of growth. Because I am such a leader, I did not, let me be careful. I wanted to make sure the next line had the experience that our founders, especially Ethel, thought would be everyone's experience. And so me, along with a lot of my line sisters who were actually the president and vice president, and we wanted to make sure that they got the best.
Right. And they did.
I'm very proud of that. That's one of my fondest moments when they came up on the yard in 1997. It was 21 years ago, and it still brings tears in my eyes because we didn't have a probate show, and so to be able to have 41 women that loved AKA just as much as you did and give them what you didn't.
Yeah,
that's beauty in that.
Absolutely.
There's beauty in that. And it's not about probate. It's not about that. It's just it's the underlying thing. And so that's what leadership is all about. You don't repeat cycles. You break them and you make them better. And I think that's what we did. So that made me into such a woman, such a leader, and why I'm active in my grad chapter now, just to make sure that I believe everybody deserves a great experience. And everybody's experience is going to be different.
Absolutely.
That's life. But under my tutelage and under my watch, I wanted it to be better for the next group of women, and they will hands down tell you that it was.
I love that.
You can ask any 41 of them.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you just kind of spoke to one of the things I don't think people always think about when they think about sororities. They automatically go to all the fun stuff, but, you know, they're teaching you how to be leaders. They're teaching you how to conduct business. There's so much that's happening that really goes into who you become in this world.
Absolutely. And learning like real sisterhood.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to always be in, you and your sister are not going to always agree on things, but you got to learn how to work it out and be, you know, all these different things. And I am forever grateful to Beta Alpha for so many things. But growing me as a woman is one of the greatest things I'm most thankful for.
Nice.
Yeah.
So speaking of lessons, what lessons or skills did you learn while at FAMU that you believe you probably couldn't have learned anywhere else?
Well, especially in the School of Journalism then. Now they have this big building with all of this technology and all that kind of stuff. Back in the day, honey. But VHS. And, you know, do you even know what a VHS is?
I'm very familiar.
Okay, all right. So VHS, learning how to edit on input, output, and literally reel to reel. Non-linear, all of that. Yeah. So we did in radio editing, we had tape, like reel to reel. You had to splice the tape and tape it.
I've seen that, but I've never done it.
Right. This was still in the 90s. This was late 90s.
Yeah.
Like you see about the how technology has advanced. But I learned, because we didn't have a lot, mm-hmm. you got to do your best with what you have. You got to do your best with what you have. If somebody rented out the tripod and you needed to shoot your story, I'll tell you how my Steadicam hand is on this right shoulder, though. The way I pan right and left. Like, I learned because there wasn't a lot of resources there. Right. There weren't a lot of resources at FAMU then. Now it's crazy. Mm-hmm. But it taught me how to just pick up and do what you need to do in the drop of a dime and with very minimal resources. What? Oh, we could do that. That's nothing. Let's go. FAMU taught me that.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do just some quick rapid fire questions.
Oh, rapid fire.
Yeah, but very, very, very quick and easy.
Okay.
Who is your favorite professor?
Professor. That's good. Oh, God. Probably Professor Jones. He didn't play. And when I was doing my thing in spring '95 online, and I made a C in his class, he was like, I don't care. I don't even care anything about that. But Professor Jones was pretty fantastic. God, it was so long ago. I'm trying to think. I see this lady in my English. What was her name? Lord. But Professor Jones is the one I think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one. What was your favorite thing about the city of Tallahassee?
I just loved that it was a college town. You had Florida State, you had Tallahassee Community College, and FAMU. And I love that it was a college town. And I'm one of those people that loves hot weather. Mm-hmm. You talking about hot? Tallahassee was hot. I love the heat in Tallahassee. It's crazy, but I loved it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And this one's kind of random, but I felt like because, you know, we're in Atlanta and you're Atlanta born and bred, mm-hmm. who is your favorite rapper?
Andre 3000.
Okay.
But right now, I'm feeling Drake, man. And it's all right. I mean, Drake is like the bomb. He's so amazing lyrically. I like him. But Andre 3000, like, hands down. And Jeezy, too, though.
Okay.
Because that's the hood part.
Gotcha.
Yeah, love Jeezy.
Nice little cross.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap it on up. Mm-hmm. But the last thing I want to ask you, well, it's a two-parter. One, will your kids be attending HBCU?
We would love that. And they love going to homecoming. My daughters are 11 and 8. They've been to 2 FAMU homecomings. Every year they feel like they need to go to homecoming. I'm like, ma'am, I need my time to hang out. We want them to really consider an HBCU. We know that things are changing. I really do want them to.
Yeah.
But I will not be opposed. You know, I'll be mad, you know.
And you'll support it.
But I'll support it. But I'm like, I just want you to know what you're going to miss out on. I'm just telling you. I know people who are in a Black Student Union at their colleges and stuff. I'm not trying to shade anybody. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, Black Student Union is not an entire HBCU. I'm so sorry to tell you this. It's just not. Yeah. But, you know, hey, if they do, I'm going to support them. But I will be getting applications to Howard and FAMU and A&T and, like, all of these schools just to see. Make it a full ride, honey. You never know.
Right.
So, yeah.
Now, if you could encourage any student to attend either FAMU or an HBCU, what would you say?
The HBCU experience is incomparable. You will not regret it a day in your life. I don't. If someone gave me $1 million to this day, and I would love $1 million, say, hey, Rashan, we need you to go back in life and like change the school you went to, change the whole. Nope. I would not change one thing about my experience at FAMU. Not one.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what is coming up for Rashan Ali that we should be on the lookout for?
Well, Sister Circle Live is on TV every day, Monday through Friday, on TVOne nationally at 12 p.m. So please be on the lookout for that. What else do I have going on? Sporty Girls has another event way in October here in Atlanta. What else do I have? It's a lot. Just go to RashanAli.com. That's where all my information is. Of course, Cool Soror. Make sure you support this podcast as well. But we need a podcast network, especially among Black folks, to help support each other. So please make sure you download it. iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, all of that good stuff. And we do cool people as well, because what I've learned, obviously I want to start off with a niche, but people are people. And I got my cool sorors and I got my cool bras, but I have cool people as well. So, yeah.
Nice. And where can everybody find you? You've already mentioned your website, but social media website.
Yeah, I'm Rashan Ali everywhere. RASHANALI everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. I'm the same person.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
Thank you for your time.
My
We greatly
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Yay.
Thank you so much for listening to the HBCU podcast. We have so much more HBCU content on the way, so make sure you subscribe to the podcast, rate the podcast, and visit us at thehbcupodcast.com. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at thehbcupodcast. Like us on Facebook. We love you for listening. Until next time.